At 3:47 a.m., the wind arrives first. Not as sound, not as movement, more like pressure. A weight that leans against the body, pressing through layers of clothing, bone, thought. Up here, on the edge of the sky, wind isn't weather, it's an enemy. It screams at 120 kilometers per hour across ice that hasn't melted in millions of years, carving the glacier grain by grain, erasing footprints within seconds, erasing mistakes even faster. The men on the ridge don't speak. Speaking costs oxygen, and oxygen is already a luxury. Each breath is a negotiation with the body. Each step is a quiet argument against gravity, cold and something older, something that doesn't care whether you live or die. This place was never meant for humans. And yet, humans came anyway. The Siachen Glacier stretches like a frozen scar across the eastern Karakoram, wedged between nuclear powers, hovering above 20,000 feet. Satellites can see it, maps can label it, but nothing prepared the first soldiers who were sent here for what it would actually do to them. At this altitude, blood thickens, muscles starve, the brain slows. At night, temperatures plunge to -60 degrees Celsius. Metal shatters, plastic snaps, skin exposed for seconds turns black. The cold doesn't burn, it eats. When the Indian Army first deployed troops to Siachen in the 1980s, commanders believed enemy fire would be the greatest threat. They were wrong. Avalanches buried entire patrols without warning. Crevasses swallowed men whole. No scream, no trace, just absence. Frostbite claimed fingers, toes, noses. Lungs filled with fluid. Brains swelled. Soldiers fell asleep and never woke up. More men died here from the environment than from combat. And still, they stayed. Every supply drop was a gamble. Helicopters fought thin air that refused to lift them. Engines coughed. Rotors lost bite. Pilots flew blind through whiteout conditions where sky and ground dissolved into the same endless nothing. A single misjudgment meant smashing into ice at full speed. Yet the flights continued. Every patrol rotated in knowing the odds. That statistically, the glacier was more dangerous than the enemy on the other side. That survival depended not on firepower, but on discipline. On checking your buddy's face for frostbite, on counting steps to avoid exhaustion, on learning the subtle sound of snow before it collapses. Warhammer talks about space marines fighting on frozen death worlds, genetically enhanced warriors bred to endure the impossible. Siachen didn't need fiction, it already had its own. Thousands of kilometers away, decades earlier, another group of humans discovered just how thin the line between life and death really is, when the sky itself becomes the battlefield. October 13th, 1972. A Uruguayan Air Force plane carrying a rugby team cuts through the Andes Mountains. The pilots are confident, the passengers are laughing. Snow-covered peaks slide past the windows like scenery from a postcard. Then, the turbulence begins. Navigation instruments lie. Cloud cover hides the mountains. A wrong descent angle brings the aircraft directly into rock. The impact rips the wings clean off. The fuselage skids down a glacier like a bullet, breaking apart, scattering bodies, screams, luggage, and silence across the ice. When the motion finally stops, the altitude is over 11,000 feet. The temperature drops below freezing. Half the passengers are dead. The rest step out into a world that looks eerily peaceful. White, endless, quiet, no trees, no animals, no shelter. Rescue planes search for days, but the white fuselage blends perfectly into the snow. Eventually, the search is called off. The survivors hear the news on a radio pulled from the wreckage. No one is coming. What follows isn't heroism in the cinematic sense. There are no swelling soundtracks, no speeches, just a slow, brutal stripping away of comfort, morality, and illusion. The cold kills first, then hunger, then despair. The human body wasn't designed for this altitude. Sleep brings hypothermia. Walking brings exhaustion. Sitting still brings death. The sun burns skin by day. At night, temperatures plunge so low that breath freezes inside lungs. They wrap themselves in airplane insulation. They huddle together for warmth. They ration crumbs. They pray. They argue. They bury the dead in snow because the ground is too hard to dig. And then the unthinkable becomes inevitable. They survive by consuming the bodies of those who didn't, not because they want to, because the mountain leaves no alternatives. Weeks turn into months. An avalanche wipes out more survivors while they sleep. Bones break, wounds fester, hope thins. But two of them decide they will not die here. With no climbing gear, no maps, no training, they walk into the mountains, toward peaks no one has ever crossed on foot from this side. Each step sinks into snow up to the thigh. Their bodies scream, their vision blurs, they hallucinate.